So can you eat squash on keto? Certain types of squash, whether it's acorn squash or butternut, can be very, very sweet if you cook it. It's almost like baby food. And it seems like it wouldn't be allowed on keto, but let's take a look at the net carbs. So this is based on 1 cup of squash. Okay. So acorn squash is about 12.9 grams of net carbs, and sugars are 2.1 grams. All right, all of this is based on 1 cup. Okay. So pretty much squash is on the low side of the glycemic index. Butternut squash is 13 grams, sugars 3.1. Spaghetti squash, only 5.5 grams of net carbs with a 2.8 grams of sugar. Now you might be wondering what makes up the difference between carbs, fiber, and the sugar, because we're taking the net carbs, so we're deducting the fiber from it, and we're showing you how much of that's there, and then we're also showing you how much sugar. The difference between these two numbers is really the starch. Then we have the winter squash, which is 6.3 grams of net carbs and 2.6 grams of sugar. Pumpkin, now there's some mixed viewpoints on whether a pumpkin is actually a squash or not, but I'm just going to keep it in this category. 7.4 grams of net carbs with 3.2 grams of sugar. Now, if you process that pumpkin, heat it a lot, you break it down into this puree, and you put it in a can, the net carbs go up to 16 grams, pretty high, with a 5-gram sugar content. And then we get to zucchini. Now, you wouldn't think zucchini is a squash, but it is actually. 4.5 grams of net carbs, pretty low, with only 2.8 grams of sugar. Now, when you calculate your macros, you're allowed 5% carbohydrates. I recommend 5% of that pie chart, leafy green vegetables, okay? And then 20% protein. And then you have the rest fat, which is 70%. We're talking about calories. So squash would fall in the category of your carbs, not the leafy greens. Now, depending on how much you consume, and if you're trying to lose weight, you might want to start, thinking about measuring it, because let's say, for example, you consume, I don't know, 5 cups of acorn squash and pumpkin pie, which is keto friendly, but you still had pumpkin in there, you're going to be over the 50 grams of net carbs per day. So rarely does someone consume that much quantity, but zucchini is very low on the net carbs, and so is spaghetti squash. The other ones are not bad either. So you're going to be pretty safe to consume a good amount of squash with your meals.